Hey guys, what is up? So I am super excited today because I've got Justin Breen here with me. And, this was a guy that I was super impressed with. My mentor, I talk about him all the time, Nick Peterson, had him come and speak to one of our networking events. Unfortunately, it was on Zoom. I didn't get to meet Justin in person, which was very unfortunate. But ever since then, I have been really cued into his content, what he stands for, and just the life that he's really created for himself, and also the life that he's helping other people create. So Justin, I know I probably didn't do your intro very justice. So do you want to talk a little bit about how you got started, what you do, and what we're going to jam about today?
I never come prepared for any interview, so whatever you want to talk about is fine. I have a wonderful wife who's a pediatrician and two awesome 9 quick start sons, like you, just pure 9 quick start visionaries, and then I'm a dad who happens to be an entrepreneur.
Absolutely. And so right before we were just talking about the Colby score, and that was one of the things that I had done before, but I didn't really understand it until we started talking about it on that Zoom call. And I was mentioning that I am my Colby score is 4398 and my wife's is 8724.
Yeah.
I think this is a great way to actually start the conversation because I was mentioning that I was at a Dr. Jeff Spencer event.
Mhm.
And me and my wife were just kind of, butting heads in our business. She would yell at me and be like, why are you doing that? Boundaries, 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 and like doing things.
No
And,
boundaries.
and she was, I was back at her like, why are you fussing at me for doing
No
this and stuff
boundaries.
like that? And all this time, like, I kind of saw myself as, more of the chief operating officer,
Oh,
and I saw
no,
her as the CEO. Why?
no.
Now that you know our Colby scores, why do you think that was just a bad fit for what we were trying to do?
Well, I mean, yeah, that's the wrong. So, uh, I see the world in numbers and keywords, and most of my day is talking to ADHD, ADD folks who are all over the place, and I hear blah blah blah, and then simplify into pattern. So blah 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 blah, simplify answer, blah blah blah, simplify answer. So people like us, high quick starts, are usually married to stabilizing human low quick starts, and visionaries are almost always high quick start, low follow throughs like you, and they're usually married to low quick start, high follow through humans like your wife. Yeah. So a low quick start, high follow through human is not a CEO. That's a human. And so that's great, but they're not the leader of the company.
That's so interesting. And one of the other things too that I discovered, and I'm sure you talk to a lot of people who, have courses and programs and all of these things that help other people. One of the things I also discovered, Justin, was that my course is kind of centered around quick start and high
Of
implementation.
course.
And so when I get high fact finders that come through the program, they're always like, so like, well, I got to
Nightmare.
check this and I got to
Yeah.
do this.
Nightmare.
And
Nightmare. Nightmare.
and so that was also an interesting thing. So anyone's listening and you haven't done your Colby score, like it's very interesting to see, because once you know it, you can't unsee it when it comes to the way that you interact with your clients and also like prospects too. I always ask people before they join my program now, like, are you a high fact finder or are you a high quick start? Because I always know the quick starts get like the fastest implementation, just because with my process, I feel like I have a very quick start type process. So whenever you are choosing people, to work with, like, how do you make everyone take the Colby test as well?
Well, thank you. That's good background. I appreciate that. I mean, you're definitely ADHD, ADD visionary, and it's not a disorder. It's a sign of genius mislabeled by humans. And so the only thing I write down before I meet someone is their name and their Colby score. I don't care what they do. That's meaningless to me. I just want to know if they're going to do something. In 6 years as an entrepreneur with zero business background, I haven't done anything outbound in years. I don't like gimmicks or any of that stuff. I just like connecting top people to top people, and then they connect me to top people. But in 6 years as an entrepreneur, we've partnered with two people that I know of under a 7 quick start. So I mean, I'll talk to a lower quick start, but they don't do anything. So pointless conversation, not only for them, but for me as well. And then so most of my intros are like 3393 meets 3393. And then so there's no other context, and then people know who they're talking to.
So you and I have a very similar background. That was one of the other things that I learned at the network event. Like I worked almost 2 decades in television, inside a newsroom. And I were you the same way, like back in, like whenever you worked in the newsroom and
Yes.
stuff like that?
Yes.
Were you so you were back into like the whole Colby score and like
No.
who.
Okay. So no, not in that regard. However, again, my brain hears blah, 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 and then simplify into patterns. So people like us are usually aliens within their own family, community, and verticals. The only people that understand us are top entrepreneurs on planet. And so I'm either this is my entire day, spending time with my family or talking to the world's top entrepreneurs. So not consultants, not humans, not business owners. That stuff bores me. I just like talking to people like Nick, and then connecting people like Nick to people like Nick, or Dr. Jeff to people like Dr. Jeff. The rest of this stuff I found takes care of itself. So I was always talking like this, and was an entrepreneur who happened to be a journalist. So journalists who were writing about negative news or political stuff, I had no idea what they were doing, and they had no idea what I was doing. And I had no idea what they were complaining about. So I was always writing about and connecting cool people changing the world, and now writing about connecting cool people changing the world. So in that regard, nothing has changed. I learned about Colby and many of these other assessments, and starting in maybe 2017, 2018, when starting first company. And then Colby, I have found there's other really good assessments, but Colby I found is the easiest way to simplify who you're talking to.
That's so interesting. So when did you figure out that, working in journalism and TV was just not your jam, and you decided to go in on what you're doing now?
Well, it's an interesting thing. So again, most of the people I talk to are shiny object, shiny object, shiny object, shiny object, ideation, futuristic, all over the place, ADD. I'm not like that. I'm ultra focused, pure ultra focused. And then there are only two things I care about that actually matter to me. One is spending time with my family, and then two, building network on a global level. So as an entrepreneur who happened to be a journalist, I was always doing that anyway. I joined Entrepreneur World in 2017 after job salary was cut in half. Tried to find a job, couldn't find a job. Incorporated with zero business background on April 16th, 2017. I don't care about business owner stuff. It's annoying to me. So I don't know what an S Corp is. I have no idea what that even means. I didn't know you had to pay taxes 4 times a year. Don't care about revenue, employee count, office space. It's totally meaningless to me. But so over the next 6 weeks, while I was working full-time at half salary, reached out to 5,000 people to find first 5 clients, endless rejection. I mean, that's entrepreneur life. Got 5th client, I think on June 1st, resigned June 2nd. And then at the time, he's since retired, but at the time he was the top media columnist in the Midwest. Robert Feeder did a story. I'd started my own firm. So that was just to get first company started. Most people can't do that. They're not meant to be top entrepreneur on planet. That's why they stay consultant or go get a job or small business. But that's entrepreneur life. And so now 2 global companies that only partner with top entrepreneurs on planet, which is a lot of fun.
That was interesting what you just said, that you like working with like entrepreneurs, because I would probably think that a lot of consultants and stuff who run their company would probably consider themselves an entrepreneur. Do you want to like kind of like do like maybe explain like the difference between?
It's incorrect. Yep. So I appreciate what you're saying, but so again, my brain simplifies everything into patterns. So this is what separate there are a couple of things that separate entrepreneurs from humans, consultants, business owners, and we partner maybe with 0.1% of the population. So people like Nick and Dr. Jeff, they're 0.1%. So most people live in scarcity. We only partner with those that live in abundance. So 0.1% of 8 billion people is 8 million. So there's 8 million Nicks and 8 million Dr. Jeffs out there. And we just connect people like that to people like that because they're the ones that help everyone else. So business owner, human, consultant. They care about revenue, employee count, office space, material things. So they're trying to change their world there. True entrepreneur cares about purpose, connectivity, global thinking, and they're trying to change the world, the fundamental difference.
Yeah, so that's a really interesting perspective. So what do you think people need to shift whenever they're
No,
trying to make the switch from
incorrect.
really?
You either can do this or you can't. Yeah. So this is the other thing that separates entrepreneurs from humans and everyone else. So I haven't met one. All I do is talk to entrepreneurs. That's it. Okay. None of this other stuff. So this is the 4 things that separate entrepreneurs from humans. And I'm not talking about silver spoon difference. Big difference. 4 things. And in the last 2 years, I haven't talked to anyone who's less than 3 of these 4 things. When I first started, I was talking to consultants and humans and small business owners, and they were 1 or 2. Now it's all 3s and 4s. Most people I talk to are all 4s. So this is the 4 things. 1, bankruptcy or potential bankruptcy. 2, depression. 3, highest level of anxiety that you can imagine. 4, likely and or possible traumatic experiences as a child or young adult. Humans, business owners, consultants, those are excuses. Oh, I can't do this. I can't do this. Why haven't I done this? Entrepreneur, figure it out. That's the fundamental difference. That's what entrepreneur life actually is. Most people don't have the coping skills, the IQ, the EQ, the courage, the hustle, the grit to be able to do that. They make excuses. That's what separates entrepreneurs from everyone else. They don't make excuses.
That is that is very true. Like I'm even finding it too, like, as we've grown and we've been, working with Dr. Jeff and Nick. I mean, I'm even noticing like the way that like I engage with other people is very different now.
Right.
I always have friends because now that I'm, I own my business and I do marketing, my friends are always coming to me with like their ideas and stuff like that. And I'm almost to the point where I'm like, let's not even talk about it because I know they're not going to do it.
Why would you even have that So thank you for saying that. So you just summed up everything I just said with your friends. I don't like that. It's a pointless conversation into nothing. That's why we only talk to 0.1% of the population. They're the only ones that'll actually do something. And this is my litmus test. Thank God married a stabilizing human pediatrician. My wife is 8742, very close to your wife's 8724. So my wife's a little higher quick start, but essentially the same person, a COO, a human. Thank God, very smart human. And then our sons are 9 quick start visionaries like you. But so if I talk to someone and I can add value to them, they can add value to me, we'll talk to them forever because they allow me to spend time with my family, which is what I care about most. If I talk to someone like your friends that are wasting my time, I'll never talk to them again. Why? Not because I don't like them. It's because they're taking time away from me and my family. It's a waste of time.
That is awesome. So you mentioned the litmus test. Like, what do you how do you like judge like whether or not like specifically that you're going to talk to somebody?
Well, again, thank you. I haven't done anything outbound in years. What has happened is because if you provide value to right people, they just introduce you to people with right value. So it eliminates that. It eliminates gimmicks and reaching out to people that don't understand what you're talking about. What I will say is again, simplifying the patterns. This is what I see happens when people start a business. This is what I see what happens. So 4 things. So 1 is get, pure getting. When I started, reached out to 5,000 people to get first 5 clients. That's totally fine, totally understandable. If you want to stay at that, if you want to have a 1 out of 1,000 success rate, stay at get your whole life. I'm amazed some people actually do stay at that. Then there's get to give. So you're mostly getting, you're starting to give a little, but you're mostly trying to get. Consultants, business owners, humans, that's most stay there. Then there's give to get, you're giving 8 intros to get 2. I don't know. So that's 99.9% of the world stops at that. That's where then you get to the true visionary entrepreneur level, the Nick and Dr. Jeff. You give to give, but only to the people who get it. give to give, but only because if you give to someone who doesn't get it, they can't, it's your friend that's not going to do anything. And someone who does get it does not want to be introduced to someone who doesn't get it because they don't, pointless conversation. So when you give to the people who get it, it eliminates all this other stuff that most people are living in.
That is so well. I feel honored that you're talking to me right now. So what did I'm just curious, like what, you know, because I know you're so protective of your time and stuff. What did you see in me?
You're a high quick start.
That's awesome. So my Colby score sold you.
I'm just the buyer of the people I want to hang out with.
That's so awesome. No, I'm very honored that we're, because this is like such a conversation that I feel like not a lot of people have, and that's what I really.
This is my entire day. I ignore people that don't have this conversation because it's boring.
Oh my gosh, like yeah. So let's talk about, like, I see that your two books back there, Epic Life and Epic Business. So which one did you write first?
Epic Business.
And what is Epic Business about?
How to build a company with zero business background that only partners with top people on earth.
That is awesome. That's literally how I built my business. I would know no business.
Right.
It was kind of like
Of
an
course.
accidental business.
I don't believe in accidents. I don't believe in randomness.
It's so funny. And so how do you, whenever people come to you, like what is the number one problem that you typically see whenever they come to you, and what is your structure for getting them to having that, going from Epic Business into an Epic Life?
Wow, that was a really good question for two reasons. One, we only partner with folks that, again, they're visionaries. So they, one, either already have an Epic Life or they won't make an excuse. They'll just do it. They'll just make an investment. They don't, there's no overthinking, there's action, thus the high quick start. By the way, I'm a high fact finder, high follow through, and high quick start. That's very rare. Most of the people I talk to are lowish fact finder, no follow through, and then all quick start. So the formula for creating a successful global company is simple: as you see a problem, create solution, problem solve, successful global company. So first company was a journalist for 20 years, created entire business based on how PR firms annoyed me for 20 years. Second company, annoyed by platforms that let everyone in. So my partner and I created high price point invite only connectivity platform for the 0.1%. Second book, I talk to 1 to 2 entrepreneurs every single week that have let entrepreneur life destroy their family life or prevented them from having a family life. So Epic Life is how to build collaborative global companies while putting your loved ones first. It's the same formula: see a problem, create solution, problem solve, successful global company. And then I hear the same problem with whatever you want to call PR. We're tired of being best secret. We want to be in more news media, usually at a global level, to create more validity and credibility. So, and my company's entire process is on the website. There's no tricks or gimmicks or anything. I have no idea what PR firms do other than annoy journalists. So created a solution, solved it. And then we just only partner with visionaries who live in abundance and who look at things as investments, not costs. So there's no, what do you cost or charge? There's no nickel and diming. There's no overthinking 3,000 questions. They're just, let's go. So it eliminates all that stuff that most people are living in.
So do you have any, like, one of like your most memorable, like, you know, client success stories? Like, so like maybe paint a little bit of picture of, you know, and you don't have to use names or anything like that, but just kind of walk everyone through, like, you know, this person came to you because they were having this problem, and then what were the steps that kind of, you know, led them to having, you know, that Epic Life?
Well, my company does one thing for one type of person, and it's 4 steps in one process. So my favorite story, because I don't care about revenue or sales, that stuff's meaningless to me. And I tell that to anyone who talks to me. I don't care about it. And if that's why you're trying to do this, then talk to someone else, because it's, do you want to meet the right people or not? So one of the visionaries, Greg Washington, he had a gun to his head. He was about to pull the trigger. He's a Middle East war veteran. He didn't pull the trigger because his cousin called him. His cousin called him, and he picked up the phone instead of pulling the trigger. But so he decided to walk 1,800 miles from Mississippi to West Point to raise awareness for PTSD and veterans and mental health. And so the coverage that we got him, he said 6 veterans reached out to him and said that reading his stories and seeing him saved them from pulling the trigger. So that's what I actually care about. Yeah.
That's something that money can't buy, things like that.
No. Well, money is energy. That's what it is. And again, visionaries look way past money. They don't, that's what I mean. So we talk to people who want to change the world. Their world people care about money. And that's fine. I understand that. It's great for energy, but it's an exhausting conversation for me because they're looking at things to create more energy. The ones that we partner with, they have the energy and they want to collaborate that energy with other collaborators who have that energy.
Yeah. So can you elaborate on that whenever you say that, money is energy?
Well, so Dr. Peter Diamandis, one of the top futurists on the planet. I'm very grateful for him. He wrote the foreword for Epic Life. That's what he describes that, that's what money is. Money is actually just energy to create more purpose for visionaries. And again, people who are trying to change their world, it's for paying a house payment or rent or whatever that is, which is fine. That's totally fine. In my world, it's for creating memories with your family. And in Visionaries world, it's creating a foundation. One of our partners is Schuler Scholar Foundation. Jack Schuler, he's a Forbes billionaire. He's in his 80s. He's giving away all of his money to help underserved kids in Chicago and Milwaukee to go to schools like Harvard and Yale for free. He's done that for 20 years. After he dies, there's a sunshine clause in there for 30 years, keep that money going toward that foundation. So that's what energy is to me. And again, the purpose of my life is to be a connecting superhero for every visionary. So not human, not business owner, not consultant, just pure visionary who shares their stories with the world, not their fundamental difference. And then by doing that, that allows me to help everyone else. I don't talk to everyone else. I talk to the ones that will help everyone else.
That's such an interesting perspective because, I work with a lot of, business owners who are, I feel like, and I really like the messaging for today. And I really love this conversation because so many people think that they need to make time for other people. And that's what, that's their job
that's called empathy.
Provider.
That's called empathy. Yeah. Can I answer? So there's 34 strength finders. I'm dead last in empathy, second to last in includer. So for me, that's much easier not to do that. However, for top visionaries, people like Nick and Dr. Jeff, I have endless empathy, endless empathy and inclusion. Why? Because it's those 4 things. It's those 4 things, and they don't make excuses. Without exception, no excuses. For those people, endless empathy, endless inclusion, because those are the ones that actually help everyone else. That's my point.
That is so true. I always this conversation is actually reminding me of Dr. Jeff's, human mindset versus the champion's mindset.
Well, humans, right. So if you want to call them champions, visionaries, Dr. Doug Brackman, he wrote the book called Driven. It's about the ADHD brain. He and I have become very good friends very quickly. He's genuinely confused by my brain, which is really fascinating because like my intuition is completely off the charts, but I'm actually less bored than a regular human because I'm constantly in zone of genius, and I never get bored by that. But he describes it as there's 2 types of brain. One is the farmer brain, human brain, farmer brain. And then there's the hunter brain. The driven brain. You go out and you create your opportunities, you create your own world. And if I'm not talking to someone like that, then it's just a pointless conversation. And then one of my other good friends, Pete Kofod, who's literally a genius, much higher than genius IQ. He describes it as sheep and sheepdogs. So 99.9% of world sheep brain. So, and that's fine. That's fine. And then there's the visionary sheepdog brain. So 1 out of, for 100 sheep, there's 1 sheepdog. And so you can replace sheepdog with visionary. And I looked it up because I'm a high fact finder. There's only 2 primary roles, scientifically proven roles for a sheepdog. Science Daily article. 1 is to keep the sheep in line, 2, push them forward. That's it. So visionary role, keep the sheep in line, push them forward. Usually people like us, very smart sheep, thank God. But that's what it is. So you don't talk to the sheep, you don't eat with them, you don't drink water with them, you just keep them in line, push them forward. That's what it is.
So that's so interesting. So whenever you're talking about the zone of genius, I think a lot of people have different definitions of that. To you, what does being in your zone of genius mean?
Great. So many things. So Earl Nightingale, he's the OG. Success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. So worthy ideal is zone of genius. Dan Sullivan, one of the greatest, if not the greatest entrepreneurial coaches of all time. Very grateful to be in strategic coach with him. He describes it as unique ability, what you're great at, what you like to do. Dr. Peter Diamandis, very grateful that he wrote Forward for Epic Life. He, massive transformative purpose, however you want to call that. And so my zone of genius, worthy ideal, unique ability, however you want to call it, is to be connecting superhero for every visionary who shares stories with the world. That's it.
I love how like you keep things so simple. Like
Well,
it just
why
is what it
wouldn't
is.
you? I'm not, well, so there's two things from that. One, thank you. Two, I don't have ADHD, so I'm not all over the place. And then I talk to 1 to 2 entrepreneurs who who do not keep things simple every single week, that have let entrepreneur life destroy their family life or prevented them from having a family. Bad idea.
Oh my gosh, I am just so lucky that, I was connected to Nick. I don't know. I know you and I haven't really gotten a chance to chat, but like whenever I first started, luckily I found Nick in like 2019. I started my business in 2018. So luckily I found him early on.
Mm-hmm.
And that was one of the things, like I would not be sitting here in my beach house, which by the way is in Mississippi. You mentioned Mississippi a while ago. And just being really, truly grateful, because that is the one thing that I've gotten from Nick and Dan is like playing your own game. And, I get messages every day from people in my inbox telling me, you would get much more speaking gigs if you did this. You would make so much money if you did this. And people don't understand, like I worked really hard for the last 4 years to be able to work 3 days a week, 4 hours a day.
Mm-hmm.
And so many people are just, like pushing more and more and more. And I'm just
Less
so
is
blessed.
more.
I'm just so blessed that I became, like a member of our circle here, because I know I probably would not have built up the willpower to be able to practice restraint in all of this. And I think that's one of the biggest things that I see, especially with, you mentioned shiny object a couple of times during this conversation. And I definitely would not have had the willpower if, I wouldn't have really retrained my brain to think in that sort of way.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any sort of closing things like that you would have to say to that? Because I think that is a main problem with so many people chasing more.
Yeah, they're not in their worthy ideal zone of genius, unique ability, then they're all over the place. So there's two things. One, marry a stabilizing human. That's the value of your wife. Stabilizing human. I was on a show yesterday, and the host was a deep, deep thinker. I mean, wow, he was a deep thinker. And great guy, but oh my God, I think he asked me like 2 questions the entire interview, and he just talked about how he was thinking. And I'm very thankful for that, because he said one nugget and asked one question that was very relevant. And he was talking about gratitude and what it actually meant to me. And it really got me to think, because I'm also a deep thinker. And it related to stabilizing human. And for entrepreneurs, I consider gratitude a stabilizer. I think it's a stabilizer, very similar to how we married stabilizing humans. Thank God, gratitude is a stabilizer, a really good stabilizer for being all over the place or being upset or being anxious. The gratitude is the stabilizer. It's like a mystic equal to a stabilizing human. It's really fascinating to me. So I'm very grateful that he asked me that, because I think that's the key. I think it's actually the same thing.
And one of the things that I've noticed too, the more that I've been being able to, be stabilized, the more that comes, like you were saying, money is energy. And, I think that once you are stable as a business owner, like more great things come your way, the more that you can leave room for great things to happen.
That's when you can be cut. So one, I agree. 2, that's when their world can turn into the world. That's when that's when, like, I don't even like the term business owner. It's annoying to me. Because all the companies that I have, they're just extension of purpose of life. They're just extension of zone of genius. They're just extension of worthy ideal. So that's what I mean. Like, so most of the business owners that you're talking about, which is fine, they will continue to stay business owners because they're not born like this. They're not. But the ones who can make the switch, if they are born like this, then they can transform from business owners to true visionaries with that mindset and gratitude. They can. Most of the time it doesn't happen, but it is possible.
Anything that you want to add to this conversation that I might not have thought to ask you, because you
journalism
so much
brain,
wisdom,
journalism
so much
brain.
wisdom.
So there are only two questions I ever come. I said I did no preparation for interviews. That it's technically not true. One, I always ask who someone's parents were or grandparents, because if you know where you come from, then you know where you are, you know where you're going. Most people don't think about where they come from, so they have no idea where they are, and they don't know where they're going because they don't know where they are, because they don't know where they come from. It all starts at the beginning. But again, simplify into patterns. I just keep making bigger investments to be in smaller rooms, but the people in those rooms are making bigger impacts. So bigger investment, bigger check, no excuses, write the check, be in smaller rooms, but the people in those rooms are making bigger impact. That allows me to spend biggest investment in smallest room, which is my family, where I can make the most impact. So that's being a litmus test for people you serve. And then again, I am a dad who happens to be an entrepreneur.
This was an awesome conversation. Thank you so much, Justin, for taking the time.
You're welcome.